You know, it's kind of weird now that I think about it. My channel is called the New York Jets Situation Report. In homage to my military background, um, stemming from the Marine Corps, right? Whenever there was any kind of updates that needed to be done or a situation, like the leaders or those that needed to know were given what they were called situation reports. We call them sit reps for short, right? But ultimately would have detailed breakdown of what individuals needed to know about a particular mission, particular strategy, a particular goal, any kind of incoming events, anything like that needed information to be spread out, you would get a situation report or an update, so to speak. Well, we call them situation reports, we call them sit reps. My whole channel is based off of this, and I really don't have any episodes that kind of break down sit reps, New York Jet situation reports. So I decided, you know what? Gotta fix that. This brings me to this particular show right now, why I'm talking to y'all today. So, the first ever situation report or New York Jets sit rep is going to be provided to you guys today on New York Jets OTAs for the 2024 season. OTAs are over. A lot of things have kind of popped up a little bit. We know we've got the New York Jets kicking off minicamp, mandatory minicamp next week. There's some question marks in regards to if we're going to go ahead and have a Hassan Reddick there. That's a big question mark. Some contract negotiations to be done. But I digress. We're going to go ahead and do a quick breakdown, aka a sit rep, of what happened in OTAs that you need to know going into next week for minicamp. Yeah. All right. This is the first edition of the New York Jets sit rep. Let's go.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother. Okay.
And here we go. All right. So OTAs are over. We've heard a lot of things in regards to what's going on at One Jets Drive. We've seen some real cool stuff on Twitter. We've seen some nice montages of Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, the connection happening. Anyway, this is going to be your New York Jets situation report, aka your sit rep about what you need to know when it comes to OTAs. First and foremost, Aaron Rodgers. His arm hasn't missed a step. It looks like, if anything, the year off has allowed him to not only maintain, but kind of get a little bit more of a pizzazz to how he operates when he's behind center, right? We're seeing him do a lot of cool stuff back there, doing a bunch of no-look passes. He's getting the ball to his playmakers. You're seeing him build a connection. Most importantly, a connection with Garrett Wilson, who right now to me is kind of playing lights out. You've seen him a couple of times snag a couple of nice throws from Aaron Rodgers. And again, this is a wide receiver that has been kind of put in the same realm of your Jamar Chases, your Justin Jeffersons in terms of target share and what he's been able to accomplish with said target share in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. The biggest thing that you look at when it comes to that is he's been able to accomplish it with some of the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL. But I digress. Garrett Wilson right now and the Aaron Rodgers connection is looking as exciting as we could want it to look, as intriguing as can be. What we think Garrett Wilson can achieve with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, everything seems to state that we're on track to see that. So the Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson connection is hot. Like it's really happening right now. You're seeing them doing a lot of things like they're incorporating motions into the game plan, stuff that we didn't really see a lot of last year, but you're starting to see that now. That kind of shows you when you have a quarterback that can handle and process the way an Aaron Rodgers can. Those motions can only make him better, make him see the field that much easier, and kind of go ahead and utilize some of the quickness and elusiveness of some guys like Garrett Wilson, Brees Allen, maybe even a guy like Malachi Corley to be able to go ahead and take advantage of defenders. So I love it. Aaron Rodgers is looking phenomenal. He's definitely the brightest spot of OTAs. We were worried what he was going to look like after this Achilles injury coming into his 40th age year. Concerns, are warranted, right? Can he go ahead and play at a high level? Now, granted, you're still talking about playing with T-shirts on and shorts. We're going to be able to see more going into minicamp next week. However, it's exciting to kind of see how Aaron Rodgers is operating right now. playing with these guys, gelling, getting a feel for them. You're seeing him make plays with Tyler Conklin. You're seeing him make plays with Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams isn't out there yet. Malachi Corley's had to show out. Brandon Allen's been doing his thing. Brees as well. So there's a lot of things to look at and be excited about. No, one thing, you probably heard about it. There was a lot of individuals, so-called foot doctors, aka Dolphins fans, who were looking at Aaron Rodgers in practice and made it their identity to go ahead and question every bit of his health in terms of his motion, what his footwork looked like. Oh my God, it looks like he can't put any pressure on his foot. Even the foot they're talking about isn't even the Achilles foot, it's the other foot. Like, it's just a bunch of crap you've seen on social media about it. Don't worry about it. That's trash. That's individuals hoping and praying to the gods that Aaron Rodgers is still not him and that he gets hurt again in actuality, or that he can't bounce back, because otherwise they're in for a rude awakening, and I don't think anybody wants that. Okay, so we talked about Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers looking good. Conklin is really shining in OTAs. He's talked about how he's kind of taken this offseason to primarily focus on his ability to go ahead and get yards after the catch, something that he feels he could get better at, utilizing his speed to properly apply that 2 yards after the catch. But people think like he's not somebody that can do that very often, but he's really an impressive contested catch guy and after the catch guy. You've kind of seen, I think he was 15th or 16th last year in terms of yak yardage. A good portion of his yards, about 227 yards of his accumulated yards from last year, were yak yards. Again, this is playing with mediocre quarterback play. Seeing a legitimate quarterback to him the ball should be exciting. Conklin right now is looking really, really good in OTAs. Looks like he's ready to go ahead and have a breakout season for himself as well. Tyron Smith. Listen, if you want tracking, the New York Jets got Tyron Smith as the freaking left tackle in the offseason. Probably the biggest acquisition that the Jets added to this roster. The Jets' offensive line has been in shambles for several years. Being able to add a caliber of a player on the offensive line like a Tyron Smith does more than just have an elite all-pro left tackle on the line, right? You also have him training guys like Olu Fashanu, who I think is going to be able to step in, if need be, temporarily this year, or again after Tyron Smith leaves the team, as a cornerstone left tackle for the Jets. So loving what we're seeing when it comes to the Tyron Smith interaction. You had Coach Saleh talk about on his off day, right? They're trying to make sure they keep him fresh. He was in the weight room putting up 400 pounds benching. I don't know if that was exaggeration or hyperbole, but I mean, if somebody was going to do it, the man is massive. I could see him being in the weight room putting up 400-pound bench presses. That's disgusting when you think about it, but that's what you want to see from your left tackle. Big, strong man like freaking Tyron Smith. You've seen videos of him utilizing the quickness. He's very, very agile and light on his feet. Look, our offensive line drastically improved with the addition of him alone from last year. Then you incorporate the guys like Morgan Moses, and you incorporate John Simpson, a healthy Elijah Vera Tucker. I'm very excited about this offensive line, as should you as a Jets fan. Okay, so Breece Hall got banged up a little bit. Apparently, he needed a couple of days off during OTAs. It doesn't sound like it's serious. Coach Saleh didn't seem to really be worried about it that much, so that's a plus. Because if it wasn't for us to worry about, I think that in itself would be concerning. Breece Hall, I believe, is going to have a massive impact this year in regards to what he brings to the table for this offense. I really see him as being RB1 by season's end. I don't see a scenario, again, knock on wood, unless injury is of course a factor, where he doesn't dominate this year as a running back, when he legitimately has a quarterback, an offensive line, and the fear to defenses that they can't just stack boxes against him anymore. They've got to think about the pass when they play the New York Jets. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So he has been banged up, but the positive of that is you've seen Braylon Allen, aka our boy Agent Zero, get more snaps with the ones. And you're seeing him get snaps not just in running downs, but also in passing downs. And the boy's got some hands. He's made some very impressive catches thus far in OTAs. The kind of things that you didn't see him do a lot in Wisconsin, but we're seeing him do it now. And who would have thunk it? The kid can catch. As big as he is, he's fluid. He's a good hands catcher. He can go ahead and run some routes. He's showing another aspect of his game that's only going to benefit this team that really you didn't think about when you thought about him coming out of Wisconsin. So B. Allen, man, or Agent Zero, however you want to call the kid, I think is going to be a ridiculous RB2 to have behind Breece Hall. The kid looks like he can potentially be RB1 already on some other squads. But for us, he's RB2. And again, that's going to go ahead and make a 1-2 punch between Brees Hall and him in this season, which again, I believe the running game is going to be a very important component. Isaiah Davis has also been turning heads. I know he pissed off Aaron Rodgers in one particular play where he didn't set in the right position. So Rodgers was like, get off the field. And from my understanding is that didn't happen again after that occurred. So that's a good thing. Apparently he learned from that. And that's what you want. You want to see him kind of learn from that, evolve, and get better. So the running back room in general seems to be doing well, with the exception of our boy Izzy. It seems like Izzy has been falling down the depth chart a little bit. I really didn't think this was going to be an issue. I didn't really think that he was going to be some guy we have to worry about not making the team, because he is, in fact, the speed guy on our roster. But when you also look at the guy like Brees Hall, who I think is leading the league in 50-yard runs since coming into the league, I think we got a speed guy. I think we got a breakaway guy. So I'm starting to kind of look at it differently. Maybe Izzy isn't the dude that we thought he was going to be or can be. It seems like he's just kind of falling down the depth chart a little bit, man. So it's a good thing that just went running back in this particular draft, because now you're not looking at, having 2 running backs. You still have 3 if Izzy falls off of the face of the earth. Now, to counter that, they did bring in Tariq Cohen, who hasn't been in the league for several years, but he's in the league now. And he's been showing out as well when given opportunities thus far in OTA. So is there a chance that, Tariq Cohen really comes into this freaking locker room and takes a spot away from a guy like Izzy, who is younger, who I think, you kind of want to work with a little bit. He's 22, speed guy, but I digress. It looks like Izzy's falling down the depth chart. A guy like Tariq Cohen coming in, taking some of those snaps away from him. You're loving what you're seeing from the running back room as a whole. That's a plus. It only makes this offense better. Nick Mangold was in the building, right? I don't know if you saw it, but Nick Mangold, somebody who I think criminally has not yet been inducted into the Hall of Fame, but he should be. Nick Mangold is a dog. He's a beast. One of the greatest centers of my lifetime. Across all teams. I think he's one of the underappreciated, underrated centers of a generation. But he was in the building. And you saw him on the sideline working with freaking Joe Tippmann, kind of giving him some pointers, right? Olu Fashanu was picking his brain a little bit, asking him some questions. When you're seeing some of the legends of our game as New York Jets fans kind of interact with some of these young guys, especially the guys who were really good at what they did, right? You want that for your team. You want that kind of mentality, that kind of knowledge, shared experience with your youth. And him being in the building, I thought was absolutely awesome. I'm really hoping we get more insight as to some of those conversations that they had down the road. One Jets Drive does incredible work when it comes to putting these things together. I do believe we're going to see a Flight 24 that comes out that kind of breaks down all of these interactions and engagements with Tyron Smith and these young guys, with freaking a guy like Nick Mangold and our young guys. I'm excited to see it personally, and you should be too. But yeah, so Nick Mangold was in the building. I had to talk about that. And I feel like in general, we're looking at this team, man, and it's a lot of positive. It's a lot of positive, a lot of good things we should be excited about as Jets fans. But it's not all great. It's not all gravy, right? Like the offensive line seems to be putting in the work. Defensive line's putting in the work. But going into the negatives, Hassan Reddick has been a no-show for all of OTAs. Now, Hassan Reddick is the individual the New York Jets traded for from the Philadelphia Eagles when we lost Bryce Huff. And it looks like he's throwing a bit of a tantrum because he still wants that contract, right? He wanted a contract when he was with the Eagles. They weren't working with him. So when we traded for him, I think personally I'm on board with not paying this guy. I don't want to do an extension for Hassan Reddick. I think he's great. I do. I think he's an awesome player. I mean, again, number 4 in sacks in the last 4 years. That's nothing to sneeze at. But he's also 28, 29 years old. I'd rather us take advantage of him for this year as a 1-year rental, and then go into the draft to get our next guy. I want to see what Will McDonald can do also as a legitimate, edge one alongside of JJ. But I want to pay our own guys. I personally want to pay our own guys. I want to pay JJ. I want to pay Sauce. I want to pay freaking Garrett, Brees if we can. I don't know if that's going to be possible for all of those guys to get paid. And I think the Hassan Reddick aspect takes away or an opportunity from being able to do that. So Hassan Reddick has not been at OTAs. It sounds like Saleh hasn't even talked to him since he got on the roster, which is a little bit suspect and questionable. But nevertheless, as long as he's here from minicamp, I'm okay with that. Let this guy play for the year out. He'll play for his next contract. Somebody else go ahead and gives him the big payday, and we get a compensatory pick for him going somewhere else. That would, in essence, replace the pick we gave up to bring him into the building to begin with. That's what I want for Hassan Reddick. I think he's a great player. I don't want to gamble on somebody who's getting up there in age. And I don't want to pay him the big bucks. I want to save that money for us to keep and retain our own people. So just my feelings on it, but that's the current negative we're dealing with right now. But there's also the safety room, right? We've been talking about the safety room for a little bit. We've been concerned about it. You still see Simmons being out there, Diggs being out there, potential options to bring into the safety room to kind of fortify it. We've made no moves. It seems as if the Jets are going to run with our guys, right? So as it currently stands, we've got Chuck Clark and Tony Adams. Tony Adams, to me, I feel like he's been getting cooked quite a bit. Every time we've heard about a big play, touchdown or whatnot, a big play happening, it seems to be like Tony Adams is in the vicinity of those big plays happening. It tells me one of two things. Either he's getting cooked way too much, or Aaron Rodgers is him, man. Aaron Rodgers is that dog. And it's very possible it's a good and bad thing. Maybe he's just missing the opportunity to get there, but the whole iron sharpens iron thing comes into play. If Aaron Rodgers is cooking them this way, he's only going to get better. But if Tony Adams, who played relatively well last year, is getting cooked that badly, is Aaron Rodgers just that much better? Again, it brings a lot to the table to kind of really think about. But I'm concerned about Tony Adams. Hopefully, this is just me worrying about nothing. So again, I'm just putting it out there. It's just my opinion. There's some concerns about Tony Adams. But Chuck Clark, I mean, this is a guy we're really excited about last year, right? And we got robbed of seeing him play football for the New York Jets. So when it comes to Chuck Clark, I also look at it like this is a guy who on the Baltimore Ravens was a good safety. He was a really good safety. And he's got a chip on his shoulder. He recently did a press conference where he kind of broke down kind of like how he's frustrated with the current situation, with how he was dismissed from the Baltimore Ravens and how he was robbed of the opportunity to go ahead and play this past year. I love it. I absolutely love it. I hope he takes that. He takes that and turns it into fuel, and he comes in and he freaking dominates. I think Chuck Clark might be a bit of a wild card for us. Are we getting a guy who was as good or better than what he was at in Baltimore because he's in a defense that's going to be able to go ahead and help him out more so by keeping everything in front of him? You've got best cornerback trio in all of football in front of you. We're just asking you to protect the back of the field, man. And I think that might go a long way as well to helping him out. Also, Chuck Clark is somebody who can be an impact individual in the run game. So I'm excited to see Chuck Clark get out there and start taking some of those frustrations and anger out on other players. That's going to be exciting. And yeah, you know what? I couldn't end this without talking about freaking another negative on the offense. That was the defense. So on the offense, Allen Lazard, man, Allen Lazard. I'm over the dude. I think at this point now, we're looking at it. Allen Lazard has proven to us that he is just a jag, man, just another guy. I know we looked at it and thought to ourselves, well, at the very least, he's going to be able to bring some support when it comes to the run game. He is an incredible blocker in the run game, but I feel like as a wide receiver, when you're such a liability and you can't catch anything thrown your way, which has been his situation the entire time in camp, you're always hearing about like, oh man, he made an incredible catch, but you know what? He just dropped an easy one. So for every 3 passes, you're talking about 1 catch and 2 drops. And I think that to me, that math ain't mathing. Allen Lazard to me is a liability. He's a huge liability. And I'm so glad the New York Jets drafted another wide receiver in this year's draft, because if they didn't do that, I really think personally, we'd be hurting right now. I'm serious, man. I think we'd be hurting. I think if we hadn't brought in a Malachi Corley, if we didn't go grab ourselves Mike Williams in free agency, I don't know how I would say I feel about this wide receiver room, but because he's competing to be wide receiver 4, Allen Lazard, I think we can go ahead and hide him. Listen, Coach Sala made it abundantly clear during the coaching conference, the owners meetings or whatever it was called, that this guy had 1 more year and then he's gone. He's not going to be here next year, right? So we know this. So can Allen Lazard just not be a liability, right? Can he go ahead and just don't cost us games? Can that be possible? Or maybe we're really lucky and Gibson and Brownlee take that next step, and that next step is just good enough to get past Allen Lazard. I'm hearing Quantez Stiggers is just clamping him up in freaking camp, right? This is this is a late round draft pick in Quantez Stickers coming from freaking Canada, right? Just clamping up Alan Lazard, who was considered to be a top tier wide receiver free agent just 2 years ago. Right now, you're telling me this rookie's coming in here and making you look like a chump, like you don't even ball. I mean, listen, it can't all be great, right? Alan Lazard's a concern. It's a concern. But at the end of the day, when you look at this freaking team and you look at this roster, we're coming out of OTAs relatively healthy, right? A couple of banged up guys in Brees Hall, and you're still seeing Morgan Moses kind of like working back from the surgery. Elijah Vera Tucker working back from. So there's still some guys working back. But overall, we come out of that and you're feeling good about your quarterback. You're feeling good about your wide receiver room because you're seeing Garrett Wilson take it to another level. You're feeling great about your running back room. You're seeing some good things. You're feeling damn well good about your freaking offensive line. OTAs was in my opinion a positive. It's a win for the Jets, right? It's a win for us as a fan base. So ultimately, OTAs now turns to minicamp, mandatory minicamp. I hope we see Hassan Reddick there. I would like to get some continuity with his defensive line with him being there. I think it's in his best interest. I mean, you play on this defensive line, you're going to get paid. You just saw us Bryce Huff got paid working with this defensive line, and I think he's further along in terms of his career development, in terms of what he brings to the table as a defensive end than a Bryce Huff. So I think that if you play ball with us, man, you're going to year 29 next year, or is it 30 or whatever it is, someone's going to pay you. Someone's going to pay you. It's just a matter of who. It won't be us. Well, I hope it ain't us. But someone's going to pay you. So I hope he shows up. He starts building continuity, getting ready to go ahead and blow up this year so we can go ahead and get paid for next year. But overall, that's your New York Jets situation report. That's your sit rep. So New York Jets OTAs going well. It's looking very promising for us. We're going into mandatory minicamp next week, and I'll do another sit rep about the minicamp as well. So this was your first edition. Your first edition New York Jets sit rep. Can't believe I haven't done this sooner. It's the craziest thing. I should have been doing this. So, till next time, go Jets.
Congratulations, brother.
Right. If you stayed this far, that's another thing too. I've noticed that a lot of individuals who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. So help me out. Help me out, man. Just to subscribe to the channel. Like what you're seeing, so that way the algorithm helps me out. But a lot of you are watching. I think it was like 38% of people who view all of my videos all the way through aren't even subscribed. Like if you like the content, I'm gonna keep bringing you good content. Do me a favor, just subscribe, like and subscribe. I appreciate you. But as always, go Jets. Till next time. This was your New York Jets sit rep.